Everybody, welcome to the Speaking with Sherry show. I am your host, Sherry Hicks. Listen, this month I have established March Millennial Madness, and I'm bringing some incredible couples to you who have incredible stories. They have a wealth of wisdom, nuggets, knowledge that they are going to help me impart for you. So today I'm going to ask you guys to tag your friends, your millennial friends, those who are married, those who want to get married, and those who are getting ready to get married, because we are going to be able to minister to you today. We're going to be bringing back hope to the Black family. We're going to be bringing back hope to marriage. We saw so many marriages fail through the pandemic, and I believe this is the excellent time, an excellent platform to bring ministry back, bring hope back to what God created. So I'm going to ask you guys to welcome to the show Mr. and Mrs. Charles Robinson. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
How you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good. Listen, I'm so glad that you guys are taking the time to come on the show and minister. I believe this show is really going to minister to a lot of people today. So I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Oh, it is an honor. It's an honor. Tell the listeners, who is Charles and Tiffany Robinson?
Go for it.
We're just a young family. We love God. We're entrepreneurs. We're parents. We're best friends. We're just trying to do what we can to leave our legacy and impact humanity in a positive way as much as possible.
And we're real people.
Yeah, we're real people.
Living a real life,
Absolutely.
just like everybody else.
Yes, I love that. And that's just why I brought you on. I wanted everyday people who were right from the neighborhoods that come and be able to share their stories of inspiration. So tell us, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 6 years. 7 years this year.
Every time somebody asks that question, she always get it wrong. Wait, is it 6 or 7? 7. No, it'll be 7.
It'll be 7. I was right.
She was right. I spoke too soon.
God's number of completion. Yes. So I already know this is going to be a good year.
Yes,
absolutely.
We're claiming that.
I know it's going to be a good year. So tell the listeners, how did you guys meet?
Well, I think our stories are somewhat similar, but I'll start and then you can tell your side.
Okay.
So I knew someone who knew him, and they said, hey girl, check him out on Facebook. And I did, checked him out on Facebook, and I was like, man, he looks good. He's tall, perfect. So I reached out to him and he replied back. And it was really to talk about business. That was he was cute too, but my reasoning was to, talk about business. At that time, he was into fashion. He was doing custom suits. So I thought it was just appropriate. And he took the conversation to a whole nother level, which turned into basically a relationship. So we met via Facebook. And here we are now.
She says it was on Facebook, but it was on blackpeoplemeet.com.
No, it was not.
I just signed up for an account. No, I'm just joking. Joking. It was on Facebook. But everything she said is totally appropriate. And when she told me she was in South Florida, I made it a point to make a business trip down here to visit some clients. And I just so happened to have some time in my schedule where I could meet with her, and we hung out. And that was the beginning of it all. So.
Yep.
So you can meet people on Facebook. right?
You can. It's I mean, you can.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, but it just so
Thank
happened.
you do have to be careful. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. So it was kind of like a hookup through someone else in a way.
Indirectly.
She says that she knew somebody that knew me, and that's how it all happened. I still don't know this person that she's referring to.
You're friends with her on Facebook.
I don't know everybody I'm friends with on Facebook. Tiffany?
That's a problem.
That's why they say those aren't real friends.
Right.
I don't know these people.
Apparently.
Yes, yes, yes. So now that we have that out of the way, what actually, now once you met each other, what attracted you to one another?
The first thing that I'm going to be honest, the first thing that attracted me to him was his height. I was like, man, this guy is really tall. And I had a thing for tall guys. And I'm like, man, he's good looking too. Went through all his pictures. I'm like, oh yeah. That's what initially attracted to me. But after I got to know him, one of the biggest things that was attractive was that he had a relationship with God. And that was huge for me. Because in the past, I dated guys who, people say they have a relationship, but I really saw that he had a relationship. And that, for me, that was it.
Okay. And how old, how high, what's your height, Pastor Charlie?
I'm 6'3".
And what's your height, Tiffany?
I'm 5 foot.
I'm just trying to give people a mental picture.
The thing with the height for me, I always felt like if someone was taller than me, I was protected because I'm so little. So if it gives me a sense of
Security.
protection. Yeah, it does. It really does.
I never knew that. I never knew that's what you were attracted to first.
That's why this platform is so important, because so many people are finding out things that are like, what?
This is the first time I'm hearing this. I never knew that.
Oh.
And I feel so honored that it was. Yes, yes. So now, what attracted you to Tiffany?
So I remember the very first time we met in person. What first attracted me to her was just the business conversations that we were having, and the fact that she loved God and had a relationship with God. To me, that was foundational. So once we got past that, I said, okay, I know a lot of women that love God, but we won't get along, because from a business sense, this is just not going to work, because I'm extremely risky. I like the entrepreneurial ideas, mindset. I like being able to, say, hey, let's do this. And we don't necessarily have a plan, and we just know it's going to work out. And that's not for everybody. So when we start having conversations about business things, and she was on board, and she was like, okay, I was like, wow, she's just as willing to jump out there as me. So that attracted me more than anything.
Yeah. So you met yourself another mover and shaker, just like you.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm so excited to get to the business part of who you guys are, because that, I think, really, really is going to speak to the dynamic and the connection between the two of you all. So what was your first date like? First
date?
Yes.
So I think when I came to Florida, we met up, and we went to get something to eat, and we just talked, and we were just talking. And I think it lasted for a couple of hours. We were sitting down in a little small restaurant in Bell Harbor. And I love sushi. Tiffany does not like sushi, but we went to a sushi restaurant, and she didn't like it, but we just talked for like 3, 4, 5 hours, and we were just sitting there talking. So that was the first date.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually met you.
Yeah, that was the first time we physically met each other.
Okay. And what was your courtship like? Like from the time you guys started dating to you actually got married? What was your courtship like?
6 months.
Yeah, about 6. Was it 6 months?
It was about 6 months, and then we were married.
No,
it was quick.
What?
No, because we dated long distance for a while, right?
6 months.
Okay. Is it 6 months?
6 months.
I honestly don't remember.
We moved pretty quick. I think we knew what we wanted at
so
that
when
point.
I came down here, I moved down here right after I came down here?
About 6 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So 6 months.
I think it's 6 months. Yeah.
If she says 6 months, I've learned it's 6 months.
Okay, so I got to stop you there. So you knew in 6 months.
So I'll tell you this, the very first time that we met each other, I knew at that moment that I was going to marry her. I knew she was going to be my wife. The very first time we saw each other in person, I later told her that, but I knew at that moment she was going to be my wife. It had to move. I just had to wait on her to get the same revelation I got. But
Okay. I got you. The reason why I asked that, because I hear so many women saying men don't know what they want, yet I keep hearing men say, no, I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly when I said to myself, this is my wife. I haven't proposed or anything, but this is definitely my wife. That's why I asked, because I wanted people to know, if you are intentional, you know right away.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So what was the proposal like?
He was just like, "Do you want to marry me?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And literally, it was that simple. You know, a lot of women, they're looking for that fairy tale proposal, where the guy gets down on one knee and it's this big event.
Yeah.
And I think we were in a place where we knew what we wanted, and it didn't have to be a big celebration, because we knew what we wanted. So it
And,
was
and so for me, I know I had been in a previous marriage and it was unsuccessful.
Mhm.
And so for me, I wanted to. So many people put so much focus on the wedding, and the focus is really on the marriage. And so I'm like, hey, listen, we can get married, we can do all that if you want. And she was like, honestly, I don't want that. Let's just get a house. Like let's put that to the side.
Whoa.
Okay, so we could get married. Let's make that as inexpensive as possible. Put that money to a house, and now let's work on the marriage, because that's the real work. That's the marriage. The wedding part is cool, but the marriage is where we need God. So that's what we did.
Okay, we got to spend a minute there. Because I really want for people to hear that. You decided to not put so much focus on the wedding, but on the marriage.
Absolutely.
And Tiffany said, no, let's get the house.
Yeah, so we when we looked at and that was one of the things that just attracted me to her. Like, we were looking at the business. I remember when I was leaving from South Florida, going back to Atlanta, I had a conversation with her in the airport. And I literally remember where I was sitting in the airport. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. For me, the biggest challenge or the biggest fear for me coming into this is I take big risk. I take a lot of risk, which that means that it could go really, really good, or it could go really, really bad. Are you okay with that? And she said, yes. I said, okay, cool. So what do you mean, yes? Are you sure you're okay with that? Because I've seen where people have said, yeah, I'm okay with that, but they're really not.
Exactly.
And she, at that time, she had been in her job maybe 10 years, 7, 8, something like that, a good time.
Yeah.
And she was established. She was, hey, listen, she was like, I have a secure income. You're very entrepreneurial and you have the vision. Let's build everything based on my income, and you just go after it. Just as long as I could trust that you going after it and you bringing everything home and you're going to be faithful, like, I trust you, go after it. Wow. And so when we start looking at the wedding, we were like, from a financial standpoint, yeah, this is cool. But then we start looking at, okay, who will we invite? And I don't want to pay $75 for this person to eat, and I haven't spoken to him in a year. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So we start really breaking down the numbers, and I'm like, that's a down payment for a house. Like, why are we, this makes no sense. And she was like, nope, it doesn't. So let's buy this house. Let's start the business. Let's go to the courthouse, get this paperwork. We went to the Westin in Hollywood Beach. Had a friend of ours who was the pastor marry us in a penthouse. We stayed up there over the weekend, and that was it.
Wow. Listen, I know this is shocking people. People are like, what? You didn't go to the wedding? But they don't understand how smart that was, Tiffany. And it's for a lot of people, they're like, they spend so much time planning things for other people. And you're going to spend the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years with just the two of you. Yep. And sometimes the bigger it is, seems like the shorter the marriage lasts. So I love the takeaway here, Pastor Charlie, is focus on the marriage, not the wedding. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
No, and I will say this on record. One day, once we get to the point where we are financially, I would love to have the wedding where it's like a coming to America type situation where we're in another country and it's lions and elephants and we got people from all over the world. Like I would love to do that for my wife, not because she wants it, but because we're at the point where it's okay, you know, but that's, you know, maybe that's 10-year anniversary,
Yeah, that's what we
15,
said.
20 years. I don't know when that'll be, but financially, when it makes sense and it's not like we have to plan for it, it's just like, oh yeah, we could spend 50,000, no big deal. When it's like that, then okay, maybe.
Yes. Yes. And what age were you guys when you proposed?
So
It had to be early 30s.
I think I was 32, she was 31, or I was 31, she was 30, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So at that point, you're smart enough to understand that you have to make financial decisions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, see, that was one of the things too, coming into the situation. And we both are in situations where I think a lot of people, when they get into marriages, and I don't want to offend anybody, but they make the mistake of they need the other person to complete them. Tiffany didn't need me, and I didn't need her. She already had her own stuff. She had her own money. She had her own system as far as how she managed her money. She had her own place. Like I had all my own. Like we didn't need each other. We wanted to be around each other.
Yeah.
And so that made a big difference. So for us, she had already been financially like taking care of herself for a while.
Yes.
And I was also doing the same thing, and I was a single father. So we thought about finances differently.
Right. Okay. And when you guys decided this, were both your families on board? Both sides of your family were good with it?
Well, my mom's not living. My father, was he in the Dominican Republic? My father lives
No,
in
he was. I think he was in Delaware or New York at the time. Delaware. I think he was in Delaware.
No, I think he was in
No, he was,
Okay.
because we went to Delaware. We stayed with him in Delaware.
Oh yeah,
He was
you're
back
right,
and
you're
forth.
right, you're right.
He was back and forth.
So yeah, my dad was on board. He was, you know, he was happy that I was happy, but he wasn't in Florida. So when we did have our wedding, it was just his mom, Quincy, my bonus son, and the person that married us. So that was
and
it.
her husband and her son.
And her husband and her son. You're right.
Had a couple witnesses.
Yeah, we had witnesses.
Okay. And what about your side of the family, Pastor Charlie?
They were all okay with it, but from a young age, I've always been the type that, you know, I had got to the point where I wasn't really asking. I was telling them like, hey, this is what's going on.
Okay.
And everybody knows that once I make my mind up, if I said it, you better be on board. Don't say anything negative about her. It is what it is. You got a problem with her, you got a problem with me. So
Okay.
they were, I didn't really ask them.
Okay. Okay. This is what it is. Okay. Okay.
That's it.
So let me ask you about your relationship. Would you say, this is a question for the both of you all, what is the most important trait, would you say, in one another?
Trait. What you got? That's going to determine my answer.
I would say trust is probably the biggest thing for me. I have because of past life experiences, because of past relationships, for me, coming into the relationship, trust was always a big thing for me. And not so much that I'm a hard person to be trusted or I have trouble trusting people, but just a sense that I've never been with somebody that trusts as much as Tiffany and literally lets the past be the past. I mean, we're human, but she'll forget about things quicker than, I mean, I'll still think she's upset about something and she's like moved past it so fast. And she's taught me that. And I remember one time she said to me, it was when a real estate deal had went bad with somebody that we knew. And she said, you have to learn to forgive people even if they don't ask for forgiveness. And so for me, I was like, wow, that taught me a lot about her. So it's just like when she said she trusts me, like that's what it is. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is that she lets things go and she trusts me that no matter what, I'm making the best decision for the family. I mean, that for me is big. So
Yes, yes. So for Tiffany, it's trust. So what you got?
For me, I would say trust is it's good. But I would say loyalty.
Okay.
Someone who I know has my back, someone who I know, puts me at the forefront, and it is always thinking about me and my best interest. So I think he's extremely loyal. That's a huge trait.
Excellent. Now, during the pandemic, like I said, we had so many different couples that just did not make it. And I know marriage is not always roses, it's not always sunny, but there are times when we go through things and we have to push through. Could you give the listeners what was in the years that you've been married, what was the biggest test that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome that test?
Um,
That was one of the questions that I was like, man, what have we like? What has really been a speed bump for us? The only thing I could think of was when we first got married. We were two different people from two different worlds, even though we knew that this was supposed to be, we were still two different people. He lived the way that he lived, I lived the way that I lived. We didn't live together before we were married. And I think in the very beginning, we may have bumped heads a lot because there were ways that he did things and ways that I was like, that's not gonna work. But I
and
think
vice
that
versa. You did some stuff that I ain't like either.
I'm sure. I
This is what
think that
we're here.
I
Transparency.
think that was the biggest for me. I think that was the biggest test. And after we figured out how to get past that, it's
Okay.
been great. I feel like the marriage gets better every year. In my opinion, I think it's really better. It started off really rocky, but we figured it out. We figured out, everything isn't worth arguing about. Everything, it's not that deep. Tomorrow's going to be a new day. We're going to be friends again. You're going to give me a kiss when you walk out the door. So, it's just, we figured that out. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to figure out how to get past that.
Yes. Can you speak to what have you learned? Because that didn't just come overnight. That was something that you had to work. You had to get a process down. How did you do that? For those people who say, I'm struggling with that right now, how do I do that?
I think it's really just listening. Sometimes listening and biting your tongue,
Ah,
because a lot of times when you're going back and forth, everybody's talking, but nobody's listening.
come on.
So a lot of times that's what was going on with us. He was trying to get his point across. I was trying to get my point across, but nobody was listening.
And Tiffany wasn't listening.
I wasn't listening. No, absolutely. I wasn't trying to hear it at all. I'm gonna be honest. I needed to get out what I needed to get out. But when I was doing that, he wasn't hearing me.
Yes.
So we had to figure out how to hear each other and hear what we were saying, and understand how it made each of us feel, process that,
Yes.
and then go from there.
But then too, I will say to that, I agree with everything she said. But in addition to that, however, in addition to that, when we both came into the situation very independent, leaders in our own right, making decisions in our own right, it's a transition for a female and a male. Well, and I would more so say for a female that you're the boss at work, you're the boss at home, you're controlling everything. And now this man that you've never lived with before is just moving in telling you this is what we should do. And then I have to be mindful of, okay, she's not used to somebody telling what she should do. Maybe you need to say it in a different tone or way. And so it was just a lot of, we were both, leaders in our own right. And it's like, okay, we have to figure this thing out because we have to figure out how to communicate with each other.
Yes. And I think that's a struggle with a lot of people right now, because if you have a person, and it's not really a dominant personality so much, but that person has a role where they're in a dominant role outside of the house. So how do you deal with that? That's the thing, when you have two people who have that head role, making sure that you find a balance there. hearing
Absolutely.
one out. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Hear one another.
And once we did find that balance, it actually works really good. Like I'm more detailed and slow and meticulous and have the big vision. And I've learned to be very careful in what I say, because the second I put it out there, she's got a plan, a website, and it's moving.
Yes.
And it used to bother me because I'm like, well, we didn't work out the small details here, and you misspelled this and didn't cross the T here and didn't dot the I here. And next thing you know, she got it booked and it's ready to go. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And so, but now we're starting to work together on that to where, you know, she's helping me move, but I'm helping her be more detailed. So it's working. So
yes, yes. And that's why I love the dynamic between the two of you all. I love that because it just seems like it just works. You have what one another needs in order to be successful together. Yes, yes, that's it.
Absolutely.
So now you're both in ministry as pastor, and I know what I've seen, what seems like a very calculated balance. And I want you to speak to that. As key roles, because I see you as key roles in what is a thriving ministry, thank God, thriving ministry. How do you maintain the balance, having these heavy hats, these heavy roles, and family, and being parents, and being married? You know, how do you find that balance, and how do you speak to people who are struggling with that balance?
So I'll say this. The one thing that I've been very adamant about, and I'm constantly thinking about in reference to ministry, is that ministry, a lot of people in ministry get it confused. Serving God and serving the church is two different things. And a lot of people in ministry believe that if I'm not at the church, I'm not serving God, and I'm putting something before God, and that's not the case. Spending time with my family, spending time with my kids, having a date night with my wife, that's ministry to God as well. I'm taking care of her and I'm feeding her. And I've made it very clear at the house, hey, listen, this comes first. I love what I do at the church, but at any given time, if my family says I need you, the church comes after that. Serving God and serving church is two totally different things. So I've been very mindful to set that tone in my household, that serving God and serving church do not mean the same thing. Don't get it twisted. You all are number one to me. And so I feel like because I have set that tone in my house, they know when I say I'm going to church, they know I'm not putting them second. They know that when I say I have to do something for the church, I have to do something for ministry, they know that they're still number one. And I think for me, I've seen that setting that tone, it balances it out for the household. Like they get it, they know.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. And I think mustering up the courage to say no, because there's a lot of times when you're pulled this way, you're pulled that way. Can you do this? Can you do that? And sometimes you just have to say no, because you have to figure out how to prioritize. Like you said, you know, there's a balance. We know when he leaves the house to go to church that he's not going out eating chicken and hanging out. Like he's going to do the work at the church, and then he's coming back home to us, and then we're going to do something together. So we don't feel neglected or anything like that. And I do think that family is important. You know, building memories with your family, creating memories with your family, you know, that's important. The church is important as well, but we find that balance. And no has to be in your vocabulary. I can't do it.
Yes, yes. And so what advice would you give to those who are struggling with that? Because I find, especially in the church, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we are in ministry together. I find that a lot of people struggle with that. Even pastors, they struggle with that. And it seems like family takes a back seat. What advice would you give to those who are trying to find that balance?
I would say what I've seen, and I get this question a lot, interesting enough, what I've seen is that a lot of people, the relationship they have with God is through the church. For us, I have a personal relationship with God either way it goes. So I'm at church because I choose to be and I like to be and I love what I'm doing. But if I'm not at church, that doesn't mean I don't have a relationship with God. And that's not my relationship with God isn't limited to what I get on Sundays at church.
Right.
A lot of people make the mistake of they put God and church in the same category, and it gets very cloudy when they start making decisions. So it's hard to say no because you think you're saying no to God, not to church.
Right.
It's hard to the pastor asking you want to do it, but it's like, well, am I saying no to God or am I saying no to the pastor? It's like, do you have a relationship with God outside of the church? Because if you do, you would understand that God is okay with you saying no, because you want to spend time with your family. Like, it's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing is just, where's your personal relationship? Because once you have a personal relationship, anybody that knows me knows if you need to really get to me, go to her. Because when I get home, I put my phone down and I literally do not look at my phone unless if I know where the people are that live in my house, I'm not looking at my phone. So if you really need me, you got to go through her. Everybody knows that. But
I like that. Everybody that you need, that you live with, you already know where they are.
So when I know where they at, my phone is down. Like, I don't need to look at my phone.
And it's interesting because for most people, it's the opposite. The family, the people that are in the house with them get neglected because they're always on their phone. So I love that because that is really, really great advice. Pay attention to the people who are in it. And I love what you said. You have to have a relationship with God. When you understand that, then you know that you don't have to get that convoluted.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's talk about date night. How important is it that you still date your spouse?
Oh my gosh.
It's very important.
It is.
Go away.
It really is. And I don't think that we haven't been anywhere outside of without our children. Like, we'll go out to dinner and things like that, but we haven't been on a getaway weekend by ourselves. And that's our choice. But it's so important to be able to date my husband because I feel like every time I do, I learn something new.
Yes.
And it just gives me a sense of feeling like I'm around an adult, like another person who can really understand what I'm thinking versus kids who are asking me questions every 5 seconds, mommy this, mommy that. So I look forward to date nights. It's important. It's necessary.
So, but
Absolutely.
Brooklyn and Max gets to go on the date night.
No, they don't go on date night.
Okay.
Oh no.
Because that's what I want to make sure that people know. You are parents. Tell the listeners how old your kids are so that people know. You have little kids too.
We do. We have
a 15-year-old in the house. We have a
5-year-old,
5, and a 1 almost 2.
Wow. And you still find time because you're parents, but you have to remember that you're still a husband and a wife.
Right.
You have to get away and have adult conversations. Like you said, Tiffany, you're talking to little people all the time. So you want to have that adult conversation on dating.
Absolutely. And one of the challenges that we've had with that, and maybe this will help someone else, is, just support. We're here. Yeah. I have no family here except for my sister. She just moved here not too long ago. And then his mom is here, but we don't have that support system. Okay. So when we do have an opportunity to get out, it's like a treat.
Yes.
Because it doesn't happen often. But when we do, it's necessary. And we try to even do it in the house as well. We have date night in the house.
Okay.
But her kids won't let us.
Yeah, his kids, they're just rambunctious. We try to get him to sleep and he just lets them do whatever. But, we try everything possible.
But I like the fact that you are at least being intentional about planning them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So speak to the listeners about how important it is that God be the center of your marriage.
You gonna go? We both took it. I think God has to be the center of everything, whether it's your business, your marriage, any relationship. God has to be the center because of everything that goes on in this world. I know for us, when I come home, and I've said to Tiffany, she's the only person that is can really damage me. I'm completely vulnerable. So if God is not there, it's impossible for it to be successful. It's absolutely. I don't see how people can live in this world without having a relationship with God. Personally, that's just my opinion. But and so for a marriage, if you have somebody that close to you that can literally tear you apart from the inside out, if you don't know God, and I mean, people in general, if there's not like they do some mean things and they could say some mean things and they could hurt you. And it's like, if you don't have God as a buffer right there, I don't see how people do it. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. I don't see how people do
it. It's just not possible. Well, I mean, for us, it's not possible. Like, he has to be the center of everything. Yes. Like you said, the center of our marriage, the center of me being a wife, the center of our business is the center of everything, because we can't do it. It's just not possible to do it without him. It's just not.
So God is like the buffer. I like when you said that, Pastor Charlie, that God is the buffer. God is the glue. So tell the listeners, in the years that you've been married, what would you say? This is a question for the both of you. What are the 3 main keys for your marriage's success?
Communication is one.
Okay.
I think that's probably for every marriage. Communication. What do you think?
I think communication is definitely big. I like what we said earlier, loyalty and trust. I don't know if Tiffany really understands how much I appreciate the fact that those things are in place, because I don't like, I have some friends sometimes, and they might, we might be talking about business, and they're looking at their phones, or they're worried because their wife or their girlfriend might be calling, like, where are you at? Where are you at? I don't trust you. I don't have to deal with that. Like, and I really appreciate, like, if I say I'm doing a business deal and I'm out and about, she's not calling me 10, 20 times wondering when I'm getting home. She knows that I'm doing everything I can to make this successful for the family, and then I'm coming home. She gets that. Like, I really appreciate that. For me, it wouldn't work if she was calling me 10, 20 times wondering, like, you said you was going to be home 30 minutes ago. Why is it an hour and you still haven't made it home? Like, so for me, that's big. So communication, loyalty, trust, I think that for me, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate him doing what he says he's going to do. Because I don't have time to be calling him every 5 and 10 minutes to be checking on him. Like, do what you said you're going to do, and I'll see you when you get here. If I need something, trust me, I'll call him. But I appreciate that.
So community, just for the takeaway for the listeners who might be struggling with that, communication, loyalty, and trust. She trusts you to be where you say you are, and you appreciate the fact that she trusts you, and you've constantly proven yourself, so there is no need for her to continue to call you. And I think that is so critical for a lot of people. If you don't have any trust, then what are you building on?
Yeah.
You're not building on anything. There's no distrust in love. It's really not.
Absolutely.
No distrust in love. So there's a lot of people who are on right now. They've been watching and listening to you guys. I'm going to ask you to give them some advice. What advice would you give to those right now who are dating and pondering marriage? What advice would you give to them?
I would say take your time. Take your time. Because a lot of times people jump into things prematurely, and then it turns into something else. Be patient. Like, being patient, that was one of the things for me when before I got into the relationship with him. God told me, be patient. I moved down here, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm down here all by myself. He was just like, be patient. And literally, he came sooner than I expected.
The dude she was dating before me, Tiffany made it come up.
No, that was the dude before the dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
she made it come up because it was bad.
No, you can't say it was bad.
I'm joking.
Do you want to get into that?
I'm joking.
You want to go
there? Don't bring up my past.
But anyway, just really being patient and waiting on God's timing. That's what blessed me, because I had to learn that. Because I was like, come on, where is he? I'm getting lit. My clock is ticking. I don't have any kids. My whole thing was I want to be married by the time I'm 28. I wanted to have children. Like, I had a whole timeline of what I wanted for my life. But that's not what he had planned for my life.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this to add to what she's saying. She's saying be patient, but just to be clear, once you know and God puts you in that situation, then because like she said, we dated, that whole process was only 6 months. So the patient that she's talking about is the patients that she had working on her and working on the things that she was working on. Once we met each other and identified this is what's happening, everything moved really fast. And I think to add to what she was saying, part of that is because we were very direct with each other. Like, okay, this is going to work. This isn't going to work. We're going to do this. We're not going to do this. Like, we had very transparent conversations with each other from the very beginning. So it's like, I know what I'm getting and she knows what she's getting. Of course, we learn things about each other on a daily basis, but I mean, we had very direct, transparent conversations with each other. So it wasn't a lot of beating around the bush trying to figure out, am I going to see somebody different the next day? Like, we knew. So.
Okay. So the takeaway for that is, number one, be patient. But I love what you said, Tiffany, when you said that you were honest about, like, let's get it. You know, I'm looking, because there's a lot of people on right now. They're thinking the same thing. But when you're patient and you rest in God's timing, and then to what you said, Pastor Charlie, was, but be direct though. Be direct, be deliberate about what you want. There's no need of pondering and playing around. Be direct about what you're doing. So for the ladies, Tiffany, what advice would you give? Because I'm gonna take you back now to when before, to that impatient person. What advice would you give to the ladies who are saying, I want to be married, like I'm ready now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that goes back to the patience and not jumping into something you're not sure about. When you know, you know. When I met him, he told me, he was like, you're going to be my wife. And I'm looking at him like, okay, I'm waiting on God to tell me that, because he didn't tell me that yet. And the wait wasn't long, but he did speak to me. You have to wait and be patient and hear his voice and know. And when you know, that's the thing. And the patient part is the hard part, because now you're looking at yourself and figuring out what it is that you need to develop to be a better person, to be that wife.
Yes.
To be that mother you want to be. So you're really preparing your current self for your future self.
Yes.
And that's what I was doing. I literally said, okay, I'm going to focus on me, and I'm going to rest in God and trust that that person is coming. And like I said, he came way before I expected him to.
But what I hear you saying is for the ladies to start working on you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes. So, Pastor Charlie, to the guys, what advice would you give to the guys who are pondering, but they're a little on the fence and they're not sure?
I would say, once you identify, be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Stop playing games. Like, it's not like lying and not being honest and lying about little stupid stuff. Like, that's not cool anymore. Like, stop it. Just be direct and say what's up. If you feel a certain way, say it. If you feel like she's the one, tell her. Like, don't. A lot of guys that I talk to and I see, like, they know what they want, but they still want to be. They still want to play games. They still want to be out there in the streets. And it's like, you can't. Like, you have to mature. And I guess that's the biggest thing. You have to mature and understand, what you want out of life. And once you identify that, be direct. I mean, that's my biggest thing. Everybody knows me. Sometimes I'm too direct, but I'm going to tell you how I feel. It is what it is. You like it or not, then, I mean, so guys got to be direct. Like, stop playing games. I think that's the biggest thing. Just stop playing these games.
And I think that the ladies would appreciate that. If you know that I am not the person, go ahead and let me go. And until I find who God has for me, but don't drag me along. So that's what I hear. Be direct. Know what you want. Go after what you want. And if that's not what you want, go ahead and let that person go.
Absolutely.
But now there are a lot of people on here though too that are concerned about blended families. Because sometimes for some people at a different age, they're wondering, what if I'm going to meet somebody that was already married before? What if I'm going to meet somebody that's already had children before? You guys are a blended family, but you just seem to have gotten this thing right. Can you speak to people who have concerns about blended family, and how did you navigate through the blended family?
So that was for me, that was one of the biggest concerns, and that was a big challenge. I came into the situation with children. I have 3 children outside of Tiffany. We have 2 together. And so that was a big concern of mine. And I would just say, thank God that Tiffany, or that God knew to put in Tiffany exactly what I would need to be my wife. Because it's not easy. And I think the biggest thing is just communicating. Once again, just direct communication. And she has full liberty to tell me, I don't like this, I like this. And even in managing the blended family, for my son that lives with us, that's 15 years old, I mean, she treats him just like she treats the other kids. And I have to give her that authority. I mean, he knows it, she knows it, his mom knows it, and everybody knows that. I mean, that's what it is. But once again, it's just very direct, transparent, honest communication. If you like something, you say it. If you don't like something, we have very honest, transparent communication. But once again, it goes back to I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to. So I think a lot of times with blended families, that's where it gets fuzzy. Is there's like she doesn't worry about what's going on or the conversations I'm having, because she knows that, I mean, it's everything's out in the open. Okay. So for me, that was a big concern going into it, but over time, it's just, I mean, very direct communication.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning for me, because I came into the relationship without children, I wouldn't say that I was nervous about it. It was just different. I didn't know really what to expect. I didn't know, whether I could discipline him, or whether, how I should act, if I should, I just didn't know. I came in with no children. And what I did learn is that the love that he has for Quincy, which is our 15-year-old, when I initially saw him, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I never had that experience. I'm trying to figure out how to say it so it makes sense. I never had that experience with a person.
Okay.
Where they had another child that, lived with us. So for me, I was looking on the outside in. I wasn't really sure how this whole thing was going to work out, but I knew that it was going to work out.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I had my own children where I really understand his love for Quincy and his passion. I was like, oh, I get this now. I understand why he is the way he is about, his relationship with Quincy and even his other children. So it took for me having kids to really understand how to be a parent, I would say, because I didn't know.
I completely understand it, because if you haven't been a parent, it's hard to understand the dynamic, the decisions, the passion behind some of the things that he does, even when it comes to disciplining.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a child. But I've watched the interaction, and I believe that Quincy absolutely adores you. It is no different. I mean, that's why I asked the question, because you just seem to, as a couple, have gotten things, to me, from somebody looking on the outside in, it just seems to work. You just seem to have made it work. And I know there are people who are struggling with that say, I'm not sure if I can do it, but you've proven it can be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you have to communicate. And I love what you said, Pastor Charlie, about letting her know, yes, this is your son too. So you allow her to make the decisions. You allow her to communicate with you, even on things as it relates to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So for you listeners, I hope that for people that that are out there that have blended families that are struggling with some of those things, tag them, because I would love for them to be able to hear this rich advice that you've gotten from this beautiful couple. So we've heard about your relationship. You guys are a beast of entrepreneurs. You're doing so many different things. And I want for the people to know, what are some of the things that you have out there that you're doing as entrepreneurs? You're both entrepreneurs in your own right? And you also have companies together. Can you tell the viewers about some of the businesses that you have?
You want me to start?
You go ahead,
start. Okay. So I started this shoe company years ago because I've had a passion for shoes, and I still do. Oh my gosh, I just love shoes.
Yes.
It might be a problem, actually. If I had a bigger closet, I would probably have more shoes.
Wow.
So I started this company. I had been traveling back and forth to China. I learned about sourcing and fulfillment, manufacturing, and all that good stuff. So I was like, man, I'm about to start me a shoe business. And like Charles said earlier, I'm the type of person, when I come up with an idea, or if he comes up with an idea, I'm on it, like that. I'm flash. So I came up with the idea. 4 months later, I created the shoe line, and it was super successful. But at that time, I was working a full-time job. Okay. So I wasn't able to put 100% of my time into it. So it really became a hobby. It's been about maybe 12 years I've been doing the shoe line.
And what's the name of the shoe line?
The name of the shoe line is Tiffany Shamir Shoes. That's my first and my middle name. I absolutely adore it and I love it. And I'm going to continue to do it because I have a passion for it and I really enjoy shoes. But that's the first company that I started in 4 months.
Wow. And can you spell the name of, because there are people who are going to be trying to find this when we get off here. Can you spell the name of the shoe line, first, your last name, and how to get to that site? So it's Tiffany. It's TiffanyShamir.com,
www.Tiffany, Tiffany, like Tiffany and Company. Tiffany Shamir is CHIM as in Mary, ERE.com.
Okay. And that's how they can find your shoe line. What other things do you guys have together?
Well, I have one more thing that I do separate, which is the Pink Sugar Box. And I started that. It's a subscription box company. And I started that last year when I lost my job due to COVID. And I was at my company for 14 years as a VP of operations. So I had a pretty big position. When that company let me go because of COVID, I said, okay, well, what can I do? And I started the subscription box company. It's been extremely successful, I must say. We launched in July. We have over 160 something subscribers.
Wow.
We get so much great feedback. It's $15 a month for 5 items that you can get monthly or quarterly. And they're just some really fun, cool items that we source from different places. We try to also put small businesses in the boxes each month. Black-owned women businesses in the box each month. So we're always looking for new vendors, new products to put into the box, and it's been fun. It's been fun. That's like my thing.
And how can they sign up for people who say, I want to subscribe to the Pink Sugar Box? How can they
can go to thepinksugarbox.com and you can subscribe there, and you can also go to our Instagram. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's also the handle's at thepinksugarbox.com. Okay.
And what are some of the things that you do, Pastor Charlie, as an entrepreneur?
I really just support her. So whatever she wants me to do, I work for her. That's the biggest thing.
I love that. You're kind of consistent.
I mean, I do real estate. I speak. The biggest thing for me is just supporting her and everything. And I have to brag on her a little bit, even with the Pink Sugar Box. She was at her job for 14 years, and during the pandemic, she got laid off. We were literally driving around in Broward County in Davie, Florida, driving through a very nice community. We saw a mansion. We saw somebody standing outside, and I just pulled over the car and said, hey, what do you do? And I just started talking to the guy. The guy says what he does. He briefly introduced he said he didn't even say what he did, actually.
He said he did makeup or something.
Right, he said he did makeup. We Googled him, found out who he was, looked up his address, kind of did a little, behind the scenes work, identified what his company was. That was like on a Saturday. On that Monday, Tiffany said, I got it. This is what I want to do. Wow. By that Wednesday, she had the website. She had the boxes ordered. She started sourcing stuff. And so that's like, I have to brag on her because one of the things that I've learned about her is that like I'll have the vision and I'll say this is what we should do, but when it comes to execution, I have never met someone, male, female, young, old, friend, in a relationship. I've never met anybody that executes like Tiffany does, and so I have to brag on her for that because so that's what I say. Even with the Vacation 305, because we have an Airbnb business that we do together.
Okay.
We were literally in our house that we bought to live in. We bought the house for us to live in. I was talking to a guy in my front yard and he says, hey, have you thought about Airbnb? The next day I'm getting out of the shower and Tiffany says, honey, we got a problem. I said, well, what's the problem? So I got the house booked for the whole next month. I'm like, what do you mean you got the house booked? She's like, we got to go. And I'm like, go where? Like, we don't even have anywhere to live.
Ouch.
And when I say she had the house booked, but in hindsight, had it not been for that, that is what sustained us through all of 2020 and really caused us to have one of the best financial years that we ever had, because that was November of 2019 and we moved out. That was October, November 2019. We moved out December, had the house booked, made a very large income in December of 2019. January, we did really good. February, we did really good. March, COVID hits. April, she gets laid off. But that entire year, the Airbnb business continued to move forward. But once again, I can't take any credit for that. That's all because of Tiffany and her ability to execute. So it's like I come up with really, really good ideas, and then she's like, "What are we doing, Jack? Like, let's go!" And then we hit it. And so that's why I say I work for her. So whether it's real estate, I mean, because of her, we are now we're licensed in New York, and we're about to buy a investment property in New York. We were going to New York for Christmas, and she said, "Hey, we're going to work together, get you licensed. So once we get this, you work on the deal, and we'll take your commission and put it towards the deal." So we went to New York. She said, "All you got to do is pass the test, brother. I'll take care of the rest."
There's a 72-hour course that you have to take, and I told him.
I don't know if you should say that part on tape.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah.
She helped me complete the course, but I took the test, so we're working together.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Tiffany is always about it.
Making it happen.
I'm gonna get her done. That's why I tell him, don't tell me what you're thinking unless you want to do something about it.
Because
so I work for her. So the books, the speaking, everything that's coming from me, I sit up at night and I talk to her, and she's like, "Okay, what you gonna do about it?" So with me, you're gonna see books, you're gonna see speaking, you're gonna see all that stuff. But the execution of it is, my wife pushes me to do all of it. So that's what I do. I work for Tiffany.
Wow. So you've got Vacation 305, thanks to Tiffany, Airbnb, moving people out before they even pack. We got the King Sugar.
He moved us out and we didn't even have furniture. We didn't have nothing.
Tiffany.
I saw an opportunity. I really did. I saw an opportunity. And the thing is a lot of people miss those.
That's it.
Because they're afraid.
Come on.
I was like, man.
Speak to people out there who they feel that, but they're scared. And
that fear, it will get you every time. Sometimes you just really have to step out on faith and believe that, okay, this is going to happen. And sometimes it may not be what it's supposed to be at that moment, but you'll never know if you don't jump out there and see. And that's one of our things. Like, let's just jump out there and see. Let's see if we're gonna fall flat on our face, if we're gonna fall on our feet, and what happens. And a lot of times we're right. A lot of times we make really, really good decisions. Yeah. And that's just with you.
So I'll say one thing. I speak a lot, and one of the things I said for years, and I never really I used to say it to people. But when I met Tiffany, she helped me understand what I was saying to people. I was motivating people. I said to thousands of people, but I never really lived it before. I used to tell people, as an entrepreneur, you jump and you grow your wings on the way down. But I never really have been in that situation myself until I met Tiffany. And it's like, I'm not even jumping. She's pushing me. And I'm like flapping, trying to grow my wings, and we falling faster than I could count. But then, right before we hit the ground, we grow the wings and we keep it moving. So
come on. Yes. Yeah. I love this. I'm telling you, I knew this dynamic was like a firecracker from far away, but now I see that you guys that chemistry is there. The closer you get, you realize exactly this had to be God. This had to be God to put you guys together. So, what has been the most rewarding thing about being your own boss now?
Well, for me, I'm literally my own boss. I can make my own schedule.
Come on.
But the biggest thing, honestly, is the joy I get when I send a box to somebody, because I know that that little box is going to make someone smile. That little box is going to make a day. I'll get an email where someone says, "Oh my gosh, I needed this at that moment." I had a subscriber send me an email. She was like, "I opened up my box and I cried," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like why?" I'm thinking like, what was wrong with it? But she said to me, what was in it was exactly what I needed. And it was like one month, it was like some kind of affirmation that it was a company put into the box. And she was like, it was exactly what I needed. And I just cried and cried and cried. She was like, "Thank you so much." So stuff like that brings me joy. Even with the shoe company, every time I send out a pair of shoes, I pray over those shoes. Lord, let this person walk in their purpose. Let these shoes take them places that, they've never been before. And these people don't know that. These people don't know that. But I do literally, like, I take it serious. It's important that people find happiness and joy in the things that I'm providing.
And what advice would you give to those right now that are on that saying, "Man, I've been wanting to start my own business for a long time, but I just can't seem to get started." What advice would you give to those people that are watching?
I would say do it now. Do it now. I think one of the things we've been recently talking about is, our time here on earth is temporary. And God, we're here for a reason. God put so much stuff in us that is not meant to stay in us. We have to get it out.
Okay.
We're getting older. We're not getting younger. So it's important that we every idea or everything that's in us, we need to get it out, because once we're gone from this earth, it's going with us. So just do it. Don't be afraid. Why not? You know, why wait until you're 50 years old or 60 years old and say, "Okay, let me try this." No, do it now. Do it now while you have the time to do it.
Yes. And during this pandemic, because you have retail during a pandemic, how has your business been faring during the pandemic? Have you seen a huge difference?
Um, well, we started in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
So we weren't really sure how it was going to take off, but it took off amazingly, and we're sustaining. I find it to be incredible as to how many people are subscribing. And I'm in a group where I see other people and they're like, "I've been in this for 6 months and I only have 10 subscribers." And just to see the growth we've had in that time, it's incredible. And I think people need what we're offering, and that's the big thing. We want to solve a problem, not sell a product. There's people out there who
Oh, that's good.
That is.
that's actually in my workshop too.
Okay, I might take that. We want to solve a problem, not sell a product. I like that.
We want to
I
solve
take that.
I could do a whole speech on that.
we want
What?
to solve a problem. So the problem with the pink sugar box is you have women who are home, people who are depressed, people who are dealing with mental illnesses, people who aren't taking care of themselves because they're taking care of their family. So they're neglecting themselves.
Yeah.
And I really thought that this was an opportunity for that woman who maybe lost their job. They're on a tight income, or the woman who's at home pulling her hair out because she's with her kids and she's also working. So the idea behind that was really to offer something to women where it's inexpensive, $15. You don't feel guilty because you spent $30, $40, $50 on a subscription box, but you're doing something for yourself. And that was the biggest thing.
Wow. I love that you actually thought of people who were home who were taking care of other people. My God.
Solving the problem
Wow, solving that problem.
of that need that,
And it's little things that they can go in the mirror and look and put some gloss on. They probably haven't worn anything in probably months because you're not even thinking about that.
right.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. And I hope you listeners are hearing. She started this in the middle of the pandemic. So for people who are like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, she started it in the pandemic and it took off. And you said 100 over 160. Yes, over 160.
That's 160 monthly subscribers.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
every single month, she's in her office at the house packing boxes and sourcing, and everything is done right there in the house, and she does it.
And I am a subscriber of that
Yeah.
box.
Oh, you gonna like the one that's coming this month? I helped pack some of those.
And it's so exciting to go to the mailbox. I'm telling you, I know because I get the notification that says it's coming. And it's so exciting to open it up and see new products. And you're right, it does make you smile. It absolutely makes you smile. It's a little gift from Tiffany every month. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And even with people who get the box, some people may say, oh, I don't use this, I don't use that. It's a great way to gift to other people as well. So
Yeah.
if you have products in your box, you're like, oh, maybe I won't use this, or maybe this is something for my daughter, or, maybe too young for me or whatever. It's a way to give something to someone else. It's a give as well.
Yes. So you're such a boss lady. What do you have coming up?
What do I have coming up? Oh,
Yeah.
so I started this workshop. It's called How to Start a Legit Online Business.
Come on.
I had several people say I should do this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yo, I don't have time for this. Like, I really don't. And people kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, and I said, okay, I'll think about it. So I started creating this PowerPoint and started thinking about it, literally. And then another friend of mine that I worked with previously, he was like, come on, you gonna do it? I'll help promote. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'll get on my nerves. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. So we set a date and the date passed. And he was like, all right, what are you doing? And I was like, all right, I promise you I'm gonna do it. So that's when I sent out I just put it to Facebook of when it's gonna be and what it is. And I started getting people, maybe like a month before I put that post out, I had at least 5 people reach out to me. This one lady said, I want to start a shoe business. Can you help me? And I was like, okay, what do you need help with? That's so broad. I said, do you have sketches? Do you have ideas? Where do you have a website? Where are you? And she was like, I have nothing. And I'm like, whoo. I had this lady just recently reach out to me. She wanted to write a book. She was like, I know you're knowledgeable. Like, tell me how to get started, what I should do. How do I publish? And is it smart to, like, she just had so many questions. And I'm like, there's a need for this. Like, there's people out here who have ideas and want to do things, but they just don't know how. So that's really what the workshop is about. It's about helping people to jumpstart their business or the business that they already have to make sure that it's legit. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do it. It's free. I wanted to do it for anybody who has an idea of a business. And it's actually closed. Registration is closed now.
No,
it is. But I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. So this is just for the first group. Once I see how that goes, then I'll do it again. But You
don't want to open registration back up for the listeners? They might get a couple. We might open it back up.
Okay.
Yeah, we have quite a few people now.
Oh, do we?
And I don't know if everybody's going to show up, obviously, but we did get a lot of people to register.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wanted to, pace myself.
I tried to get y'all in there. I tried.
So we're gonna pray. How were they able to sign up? So that just in case you open it up, that those people are able to go on and see if there are spots available, because maybe the day of there might be a few available spots.
Absolutely. So if we do open it up again, you're going to go to TiffanyShamir.com and /2 TOO legit. Okay. So like MC Hammer, too legit.
Oh, okay.
Tiffany is always thinking. Tiffany is always thinking.
So that's how you would go to register for it. Like I said, right now it's closed down, but we're going to bring it back again. And then also, if you guys follow me on social media, I always post it every time we do it. And
are you going to record it and post it on there so people can see it?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is only for people who registered.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep it, make a nice little community out of it and see how it goes. I mean, I really want to help. My biggest thing is to help those people who want to start a business. That's it. Yeah. And I hope that I have some information that will help them. I think I do.
Yes, you absolutely do. So for the listeners who've been listening to you guys, I gotta start following this cool couple. How do they find you guys on social media?
My personal social media is It's Tiffany Shamir.
Okay.
And mine is just Charles R. Robinson. But we have a family page that is called the Robinsons Takeover. It's an Instagram page, Facebook page, YouTube channel. We love to travel. We love different experiences. So you can find everything on the Robinsons Takeover as well. It's just literally the Robinsons Takeover. And we try to post content on there. Before the pandemic, we travel all kind of different places and we like posting stuff on there too. So.
And they can see the whole beautiful family. They can
absolutely.
The whole family.
Everybody.
The dogs, the lizards, the hamsters, you name it. Everybody's on there.
Did you guys find the hamster?
We did. 7 days later.
I was washing clothes and he came running out the dryer. I thought I was seeing something. I mean, not out of the dryer, out from underneath the dryer. I said, man.
7 days later.
I wanted to holler. It was like 4:30 in the morning. I almost woke the whole house up.
We thought she was gone. She was like, Jesus rose again, because we said our goodbyes.
Oh my God, you guys are incredible. I know you guys have enjoyed as much as I have. I think I laughed more than I thought I was going to laugh. I know that you guys have enjoyed this couple, and I want to make sure you guys follow them. But listen, Charles and Tiffany, there are people who have been watching this, but they say, I want healing in my marriage, or I would love to be married. Or I'm struggling in my marriage. Can you pray for those couples and those families right now?
Absolutely. You want to pray with me too?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come before you in front of some amazing couples and some amazing single people. Lord, we know that we hope that our story and that our transparency shed some light on some of the couples' experiences, and those who desire to be married. We hope that we were able to reach them so that they can understand what it is they need to be in a successful marriage. Lord, we know that right now the enemy is attacking marriages. He's going directly for marriages. So we're asking right now that every person that's represented, that's looking, that's watching us, that you restore their marriage, that you bring unity to their marriages, healing, Lord. We ask that you bring wealth, good health to their marriages, Lord. Give them peace and understanding. Restore their situation right now. And Lord, those who are desiring to be in a relationship, we ask that they commit to you, that their first commitment is to you. And then that way they'll be able to commit to someone else. And we ask that you give them their heart's desires, God. Lord, be with them, give them the peace and give them the patience they need while they're waiting. We thank you, Lord, and all these things we pray. Amen.
Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Hey, listen, guys, this has been an incredible show, and I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this as much as I have. But make sure you share this link, tag your friends, because as I said in the beginning, we are bringing hope back to marriage. We are bringing hope back to family, and we are looking to save marriages this year. I know this is going to be an incredible year, and as we continue to pray for one another and bring this platform, I know that we are going to defeat every attack against marriages this year. So thank you, Pastor Charlie and Tiffany Robinson, for joining us. Make sure you go and follow them, because they are beasts of entrepreneurs. And I think all of us could take a tip from some of the things that you can see that they've been doing, which has made them successful. So thank you so much. I'm so honored that you guys have come and helped me minister with the people tonight. Good night.
Thank you so
Yes,
much
thank
for
you.
the opportunity.